Jerome, you heard what the Shadow Defence Minister had to say. They're clearly not happy with the move and not happy with the timing, saying the preconditions aren't met yet, Jerome.
Mate, I don't know if he was watching the same press conference as I was, but clearly there were some conditions that we put on this recognition of Palestine, and we want to be part of the global momentum to try and end this conflict. We see the recognition of Palestine as part of a move towards peace. We see countries like France, New Zealand, and others joining global momentum towards a vote in the UN in September. And we've been very clear that we don't see a Palestinian state running with Hamas anywhere near the levers of power. And we've sought agreement from the Palestinian Authority to those conditions. I think these are reasonable steps. I think the Foreign Minister said it. The status quo isn't going to bring us peace. Something needs to change. And we want to be part of the global push towards peace. And we see this recognition as a step towards peace. And that's a good thing. Hopefully, the world can make a difference here.
Aaron Violi, this is happening at the 80th General Assembly, the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly next month in New York. And as you heard there from Jerome, the government maintains the appropriate conditions are in place. The number one condition, of course, is that Hamas play no role in any future Palestinian state, Aaron.
Well, correct, Kieran. I mean, Hamas is a listed terrorist organisation, and the Prime Minister has not been able to articulate how Hamas will no longer be involved by September. What is their pathway militarily to de-arm Hamas? Because Hamas have made it very clear that they're not going to lay down their arms. They've refused to return the hostages, and they also believe in they do not believe in the two-state solution. They do not believe in the right of Israel to exist. So how is Australia as a country, all these other countries, going to deal with Hamas in practical terms? Because they're not walking away from giving up the power that they hold. And that's the question the Prime Minister couldn't answer. I note that the Foreign Minister couldn't answer a very important question as well. What would happen if recognition was given and then Hamas or another terrorist organisation took over control of that state? They're the details that need to be answered that the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister couldn't.
Well, the Labor frontbencher Tony Burke said yesterday on Sunday Agenda that this is an issue that's been dealt with before, that we have always recognised nations, even when terrorist groups have taken over, like ISIS in, say, in Syria or Iraq. So I guess that would be part of the answer, Aaron. But Jerome, I want to get both of your thoughts on this.
Sorry,
we heard some of the voters there. Yeah, Aaron,
I just want to make a point on those comments by Tony Burke. It's really important that we look at the context. Palestine is about 6,000 kilometres. Iraq about 435,000 square kilometres. Syria about 185,000 square kilometres. It's a false equivalence given the size of those locations than it is to Palestine. And already we see yesterday that disconnect between the Home Affairs Minister talking about potentially there is a role that involves Hamas, and the Prime Minister saying today that there would be no role. So there's those questions.
I don't think
and
he said that. Nah.
Well, he said that
I don't think he said that there should be a role. They oppose that. Yeah, but they oppose the Hamas having a role in any future Palestinian state. Now, let's pick up. I want to pick up, Jerome, if I can, with the public reaction. We heard from some voters in the comments, the Vox Pops earlier, Jerome. What are you hearing from your constituents in relation to this issue? There's obviously a great deal of sympathy for the families affected by and the hostages that remain in the tunnels under Gaza City as well.
Oh, absolutely, Kieran. Look, I mean, you mentioned the number one condition, Hamas not being involved in a future Palestinian state. Equal number one in that is the return of hostages. This has been a horrific conflict over the last 2 years since October 7. Hostages need to be released. A ceasefire needs to occur. Humanitarian aid needs to flow, and the recognition must lead towards a peaceful transition. But just on Angus Taylor, but before us, on his comments and Aaron's comments here, I mean, there is obviously a global movement towards the recognition of Palestine to bring that region closer to peace. I mean, are they really going to miss this moment and snipe from the sidelines whilst the world is moving on this? I mean, just what we're hearing from Aaron and before that Angus is just extraordinary. This is an opportunity where we can hopefully bring peace to this region, end decades of conflict, and of course the current conflict at the moment. Take this opportunity, be bipartisan in this, as is your policy to recognise the State of Palestine. Let's work together with the world to bring peace to this region once and for all.
Aaron, what are your constituents saying to you, and how do you respond to what Jerome said there about that international momentum?
Well, the coalition has been very clear, and Jerome's right. We do have a bipartisan position to support a two-state solution.
Doesn't sound like it, mate. Come on.
No, but we support Hamas not being involved. We support the return of the hostages. And as we've said, the detail matters and the timing matters. And the Prime Minister, we support that position while also holding the government to account to provide the detail of when and how it's going to happen and how they're going to assure the hostages being returned, Hamas not being involved. What is the detail behind that? And many people, everyone wants this conflict to end. There are innocent Israelis that are hostages. There are innocent Palestinians that have been killed and have been dispossessed. No one wants conflict to continue, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's Russia and Ukraine. We don't want to see global conflicts like this, and we need to find a solution. And the two-state solution has bipartisan support, but we also need a roadmap to make sure that Hamas is not involved and this doesn't cause greater harm in the future. And it's right to seek those guarantees.
Jerome, the Prime Minister spoke about the Netanyahu government rapidly expanding illegal settlements and settler violence. How much is that underpinning this response from the government? Frustration, do you think, with the Netanyahu government itself?
Oh, look, Australia's been part, again, of a global push to ensure that Israel complies with its international law obligations. And I think there has been a frustration culminating in our announcement today. So I'm not surprised that the Prime Minister mentioned settler violence. I mean, our language changed on that a little while ago now. So, you know, it's one of many reasons, you know, we could put up. But at the end of the day, we want to ensure peace in this region and believe that recognition of a Palestinian state is another step towards that.
Aaron, the Israeli government now, I wouldn't say Israel itself, because Israel has, I think, has many friends around the world and some who are frustrated with the Netanyahu government, but those that remain friends of Netanyahu himself in a political sense are becoming fewer. President Trump remains one. Are you concerned this will damage our relationship with the United States, Aaron?
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We saw, you know, when Canada, made their announcement, there was a reply by President Trump. So I did note it appeared from the Prime Minister's press conference that he hadn't spoken or reached out to President Trump. So we'll have to see the impact of those relationships. It's important, given the AUKUS agreement and, you know, our relationships with the US, that we continue to strengthen that relationship. And we'll have to watch and wait and see the response from the US in the hours and days to come.
Jerome, your thoughts on that, the prospect of this causing a thorn in the side of relations with the United States?
Kieran, it's clear to me that Australians of all political persuasions and backgrounds and ethnicities want to see the violence end. Recognition of a Palestinian state is a step towards peace. I think it's the right decision to make.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for that on that issue. I just want to quickly, if I can, turn to another matter. I know both of you have been focusing on this, and it's a bit of a shift in pace, but it's certainly something that's come up ahead of the Reform Roundtable. Jerome, let me ask you about that issue of EV road user charges. I know you've both spoken on this. What's your thinking on it, Jerome? Is there justification for change on that front? Yeah,
look, I saw some reporting on that today, and I think it's been a little while now. The Treasurer has made no secret that he's been chatting to the states about it. Look, I've been driving an EV for about 8 years now, Kieran. I've not paid a cent in fuel excise, which is used to fund upgrades to our roads. The average family pays around $1,200 a year in fuel excise. And successive governments have been recommended to implement a national road user charge or something to ensure that low emissions vehicles can pay their fair share. The states had a go, struck out in the High Court in Victoria, so it's on the Commonwealth now, and I'm not ruling anything in or out, but it seems like a discussion that should be had.
Yeah, indeed it does, Aaron. We've got to pay for the road somehow, and if everyone's driving EVs or more of us, that's got to come from somewhere, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Jerome articulated, those driving EVs aren't paying through the fuel excise. It's something that we need to address, and we'll scrutinise what the Treasurer brings forward and how he makes it a more fair and equitable system. We need to allow for obviously regional and rural areas where driving is a longer distance. There's a greater impact. So we'll wait to see the detail. Although I would say it's interesting because just on the weekend, the Prime Minister ruled out any tax changes outside of what they took to the election, which again is at odds with what the Treasurer said and at odds with this announcement. So, we're getting mixed messages from the government when it comes to the economy. We'll wait and see what they do. But it's clear, as Jerome said, that I welcome his contribution because something needs to be done to make it fair and equitable for all drivers and making sure roads are at the standard they need to be.
Aaron, you weren't going to miss that one. Well done. And Jerome, thanks. We'll see you next week, gents.